Welcome back, everyone. Tim, Francis, Alonso. We're here to review Fear the Walking Dead, the Season 2, Episode 2, We All Fall Down. So our merry band of survivors is on a boat, on Strand's boat.
They're on a boat!
Yeah! Yes, motherfuckers, they're on a boat. And they see they are headed south towards San Diego, although they have read on a yacht's ship log that San Diego is not much better than Los Angeles.
Right.
On their way there, they stumble upon Catarina Island, not to be confused with the actual Catalina Island.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, like that. Catalina was going to sue. I mean,
I actually think that the math doesn't add up. Like, they were headed towards San Diego, but they ended up at Catalina, and it's been 2 days already. And
that's
trip
true, yeah.
should really only take about 4 hours.
That should have been the first choice. It's a fucking Catalina wine mixer. That's where you got to go.
So they get signaled by a light on the island. There are people there. They go to investigate, and they meet the Gearys, who are survivalists.
Yes.
And
yeah,
rangers.
kind of like the John Goodman character in 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's like, I think, you know, when you're a survivalist, as much as you don't want the worst to happen, when it does, it's kind of like, yeah, jackpot, told ya, you know. So clearly, yeah, they're ready for it, and the father has very strong views about being separate from society and being prepared for what comes next, although I think other people kind of have a more realistic take that this is not going to last. Yeah. I love the whole fake out beginning with the little kids playing on the beach and
that was a good opening.
Guys staggering out of the ocean. That was a neat little misdirect.
Yeah, and I mean, as people know from me reviewing The Walking Dead, is like, I'm going to relate that back and forth, and I was actually, that scared me a little bit at the start. It's been a long time since I've actually been afraid of walkers or afraid of zombies, but there's something refreshing about this show that the opening scene, you actually do feel a little bit of suspense and you actually feel a little bit of worry. But again, when I met this group of survivors, apart from our main group, I just related it immediately to Herschel. Did you do that? Kind of like detaching himself from society and trying to keep himself within the farm, and I feel like that was a very similar scenario to that.
Except they welcomed our group with open arms
yes,
for the most part, whereas Herschel was very reluctant to let anybody on that farm.
Yeah, I just feel like, again, I want to review it and I want to focus on it as a separate entity, but it's just something that The Walking Dead has done where you cannot go into a normal group and not expect the worst to happen.
Right, well, that's why I'm here, as the person who doesn't watch The Walking Dead, but I think in any kind of setup like this, yeah, obviously if you've got somebody who has fortified themselves against the apocalypse, they're not necessarily going to be, you know, putting up the bunting for other people to come and, you know, use their limited amount of resources or whatever. But obviously, as we come to find out, the wife of this family has an agenda in mind as to why she would want to welcome outsiders. What I was thinking about, though, this episode, and I don't know if this is a motif with Walking Dead, but this is kind of more like the sort of thing you would see on a show like The Fugitive, where, you know, the overarching plot of the show is, you know, running from the law and trying to find the man who murdered his wife. But then each week he would sort of meet other people and be helpful and get involved in their drama, but then have to go running at the end. So that was a very sort of discrete one episode encounter and then gone. Are we going to get that a lot in this show, do we think? Is that what the other show does?
There were a handful of those in The Walking Dead, although it certainly didn't happen every week. It's nice to see how other people are dealing with the apocalypse, so you get a little slice of life, like all the different ways that you can handle it. The next group that I assume they meet will be handling it a little more ruthlessly than this group, than the Gearys did.
I feel like it's a way to try and build the character, right? I feel like, because at the moment, that's one of my concerns, is I don't feel, it's now heading into the second season, I still don't feel a direct connection between any of the main characters, but I think that you see them run into other groups and see them interact, like basically seeing Nick interact with the kids, it made me kind of grow to him a little bit more as a character. You see that kind of, even though as we get to the end, it was a little bit his fault from what he was, when he was walking around doing his investigation looking for pills, but that, I feel, is what we're going to run into. We're going to see how more of the main characters, similar to what The Walking Dead do, is how do they build off of each other and how do they take different perspectives from other groups and use that to influence the way they are going to act in the future.
Well, and I think definitely there's the implication that Chris is going to be more understanding of his father having shot his mother now that he's seen Seth having to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That, you know, I love the line, oh, God, just don't even look.
Oh,
you know, but it's
keep
true.
Waving.
Yeah,
Just keep waving.
Yeah, but that's an important thing because I think he's being a little petulant and not sort of getting the bigger picture here. And now that he's seeing the bigger picture unfold in other scenarios, like, oh, oh, okay, so she was, and he actually did her a favor, and
I can also see him being, sort of like, I mean, Daniel's the badass of the group, but I could see him being a fighter because now he's gotten a taste for, they were behind a fence, but he killed a bunch of walkers.
Seemed to like
he sees
it.
how easy, he seemed to enjoy himself, he felt useful, like he had a purpose.
Yeah.
Fascinating that they directly discuss Madison's boyfriend,
Travis?
or husband. Travis, thank you. Travis's Maori background.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know if that was going to be a thing, or they were just going to sort of like keep him sort of, or I don't know if it was going to come up or not. So it was interesting that it was brought up directly and brought up in a very specific context about the dead and how we handle, loved ones, once they pass and that kind of thing. So that's like if the show's been holding on to that one, for an entire season and didn't unleash until now, I was like, okay, nice long game show.
We also got a delightful amount of exposition in that same scene where he's been communicating with ranger posts all up and down the coast. We know that it goes all the way from Vancouver down to Mexico, all the way out to Colorado.
To the Continental Divide,
Right.
The refreshing thing about this show as well is I think they have a little bit of fearlessness about what they're going to portray and how they're going to portray it. It was refreshing to see a show and the writers have some balls and showcase a brutal scene. Like that will be up there as one of the most chilling scenes I've seen from either The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead, when the daughter kills the mother, and it showcases it and without really adjusting, like very similar to the whole Sophia example for Walking Dead, whereas I
don't think we've seen a child walker since Sophia, right?
we haven't. Well, we didn't see. Did we see child walkers? No, we never seen the two characters that Carol took. We never seen them turn, did we?
I think we might have seen the one turned. Yes, I think so.
But anyway, what I seen from that was a show that's willing to showcase the brutality of this world, and I feel like that was missing from the first season. And although yes, they wanted to build this story and kind of ease you into it in order to create their own sense of what this world is, they did not care that that's something that The Walking Dead has kind of tiptoed around. They were like, this girl just basically found drugs, killed herself as an overdose, and then
by accident.
By accident.
But then the mother allows herself to be.
I think she understands.
Well, I think what she's doing is she's buying time for everybody else. She knows she's dying anyway.
Yeah.
And so she might as well sort of be literally a human shield. To sort of give the other people time to get out of the house and get away from them. And so you're right. That's pretty intense stuff. I mean, obviously the first 6 episodes you can't go right into the brutality because the whole that was kind of a half season anyway.
Yeah.
It was really all about getting us to the point where where society had flipped. We start with the sort of the random outbreaks, and then we have the militarization angle, and then we have the military failing, and then we end with the firebombing of Southern California essentially. So now we're in the thick of it, with season 2.
Yeah.
We also get a nice little taste of further intrigue with Strand. He's on the satellite phone with somebody.
Right.
He says he's going to be somewhere by sundown. So, I mean, we still have no idea what his ulterior motives are.
I love Daniel in his episode, in these scenarios with him. He just hovers around them, but he's trying to act. He's like whistling, he's singing.
No, we insist.
He's like, you're hovering around me and you won't let me go. And he's like, well, if you've got nothing to hide, then what's the problem? Like, this is your boat, right? And he's just kind of prying at him.
He's for sure the Mike Ehrmantraut of this show.
Yeah.
Like, he knows a lot more than he's willing to say.
Right.
And he can do anything.
And he's very quiet about making you tell him when
Right.
he wants you to.
Yeah.
Also, Alicia didn't do anything stupid this episode.
I know.
Yay.
So that was a question I wanted to pose to you guys. I didn't know if it was just me. Do you feel similar in terms of like the character building? And I feel like the one thing that The Walking Dead did in their original seasons is I feel like they specified more characters specifically, whereas like an episode directly focused on one. And I think that season 1, it did a good job of kind of conveying the family, but as you mentioned, Alonso, they had to create the arc of this is a beginning and how do people react, whereas The Walking Dead, you were thrown right into it and you were like, okay, these are the people that are dealing with it. So I feel like they focus so much on building that arc and building society's take on it all that they've kind of detracted away from focusing on characters and who you can kind of create that emotional attachment, because that's where the show is going to be. I think it's going to make or break, is if you can feel passionate enough that you're worried that one of these characters may be killed off. And I don't think that they've focused. I think Nick, for me, is maybe the most relatable that I see, but I feel like Travis and Madison, it's the split screen time, whereas I kind of want episodes focused on them in order to create that connection.
Yeah, I mean, I think the show's going to have to kind of keep bringing in outside people. I mean, like one of the ways that we got to know Alicia last season was through, her interactions with her boyfriend and then with that soldier later on. And so they're either going to have to kind of super bottle up as far as keeping these people confined to a place and making them bounce off each other, and that's how we get to know them, or they're going to have to keep encountering other people, and how they deal with those other people is going to reflect upon them who they are and what they're about.
Yeah, I think so.
And for the most part, their decisions so far have been pretty easy. I mean, they're on the boat, they know it's safe, they're conflicted about whether to pick people up, they're conflicted about whether to save these kids, but at the end of the day, there's Strand's answer, which has so far been the right answer.
Yeah, well, and I
put that thing back where you found it. We're not taking a child with us.
Sure, and
literally dead weight.
And because Seth shows up with a rifle, they don't have to make that decision.
Right.
They're relieved of that. Yeah, Strand has a point. Children literally are dead weight in this case. But obviously, Madison is compassionate, and she made a promise to this woman. But yeah, the show does kind of let them off the hook by having
Right. So we haven't had those real tough life or death change the group dynamic decisions yet, and I assume that one will be coming soon.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think they're going to run into a group that doesn't handle things in such a cordial way than what they've just run into, and then they'll be forced to either think that may be a process that you need to take, which we know as veteran Walking Dead viewers that's usually how this world works by the end of it, but we're at the beginning stage again, so it's whether or not how quickly they grasp that, because you definitely will find a group that is adjusted to society in a very military fashion. It's either like you've either got what it takes or you're redundant to us.
Right.
Well, if you've seen the preview for next week's episode, you know that we are meeting a new character for how long we're not sure. But we'll be back on next Monday to discuss it.